everybody? Lord Tremendous here, and I got another book review here for you. This one is, on New Year's Eve, no less. Aren't you lucky? Although, I doubt you're listening to it on New Year's Eve. But if you are, hey, cool. Sit down and enjoy the review. Or stand up. Don't let me tell you what to do. So this book is called A Bloody Arrogant Power, and it is book one of the Sovereigns of the Collapse series by Malcolm J. Wardlaw. I got it with my Kindle Unlimited subscription, but it looks like it's 99 cents to buy an copy, and then $9.99 for a paperback. I don't believe it's available in audiobook or anything like that. It's 242 pages. It was published on August 7th, 2019. Obviously self-published, and it's a dystopian fiction, post-apocalyptic science fiction type book. It's so the best way, non-spoiler, for me to explain this book would be it's like somebody watched the Game of Thrones or read A Song of Ice and Fire, saw all the political intrigue, and thought, I can do this, and they were mostly wrong. The first 30-40% of the book, I was completely lost. There was the main character is a guy named Donald, and he's a lawyer that somehow got a job as an accountant for who's the bigwig in town. Basically, think the world has collapsed. It's all based out of England. The world has collapsed. Resources are scarce. Food is scarce, supposedly, and it's weird because the hierarchy of like lords and ladies and all that stuff has come back. Kings, all that nonsense, and they're all in charge. Why they're in charge, I'm not really sure, because they don't seem to have any standing armies or anything, and they don't seem to provide anything like protection or food or anything of that sort. They just are, and they've kind of got their little territories up and all that, but it doesn't really tell you why they're in charge or anything. What it does tell you, what the story does say, is that there is like a food shortage or whatever. People are breeding, because let's be honest, that's what people do. And they're breeding themselves like rodents, and there's not enough food to go around. So what happens every couple of months, every quarter of the year or whatever, is people like Donald, who are lawyers that are also accountants. It's very weird. I'm never really sure what this guy's doing or what his job really is, because he's a lawyer, but he takes all the numbers from projected yields of food throughout the particular territory that he's working for, and he projects how many people they can feed with that food, and then they take the surplus people, and they call it surplus, and they flush them down drains, which basically means they kick them off their land to be killed, to die, to wander off and go somewhere else and die. It's weird because it never really tells you where they go. It never really tells you why the people just moo cow their way down the road. Like, oh, well, I'm getting kicked off my land. It says at one point it's the only land that generations have known. They've lived there forever, but somebody with a uniform came and told them it was time to go. So mom, dad, and 18 kids just packed up and started walking down the drains. It doesn't make any sense. And that's the biggest problem with this book. None of it makes any flippin' sense whatsoever. So the territory owners, the lords and the ladies and everything like that, they don't seem to have standing armies. They seem to count on the ultramarines, these black-suited military types, to kind of run everything. Yeah, they got guards and everything like that, but the ultramarines seem to be the ones that are like the acting military, but it doesn't make any sense. They work for a guy called the Night Minister, but the Night Minister doesn't seem to really hold any. It's so convoluted and confusing, and it never really gives you a reason to care. There's absolutely no reason to care 90% of the time. I don't care about the main character, Donald Aldingford or whatever his name is. I don't care about him. He's not an interesting character at all. He starts off as a lawyer that's an accountant that's doing the numbers to determine how much food they're going to have estimated for that particular season compared to their population. And whatever population numbers are surplus, like too much, they flush them down the drains. How that happens, you're never really explained. It just does. Like, I don't know if they get a letter in the non-existent mail or what, but all of a sudden thousands of people are quote unquote flushed down the drain, kicked off their land to go and die somewhere. And that's what happens. They either die, they get put into slave labor camps, they get used, abused, and murdered. It's the worst parts of the Bible. And it's just like, okay, but how does it doesn't explain any of it. It just happens. And that's a lot of this book. Things just flippin' happen. It is so much Deus Ex Machina. It's painful. It's insulting in a lot of ways. And I really didn't enjoy it at all. The author tries desperately hard to have some sort of weird political intrigue going on, but he never explains why. It just is. For example, the main character, the guy who's the most in charge, but kind of not, he's Donald's employer. And the guy is a twit. The guy is a complete twit. The author tries to make him come off as this deep thinking person or whatever that's powerful and trying to balance everything, but he's a twit. He's a god awful moron, and nothing makes any sense. So he doesn't like his family. He doesn't trust any of them to take over for him. He's not an old guy. He's not dying anytime soon, but he wants an heir, and he doesn't have one, and all of his family are morons. And so he decides to take Donald, and he never really explains why, other than Donald's a good, honest person, and he's never met anyone like that before. It stuns me that was where this guy's logic train comes from. Of course, nobody in his family or in the power structure of this world or this continent or island anyway. I'm sorry, we're in England. Wants this to happen, but behind the scenes, he just made it all happen. The author never explains it. It's just, oh yeah, TK was able to make it all happen because he pulled some strings and called in some favors. What? So. And what that means is everybody knows this guy is going to nominate Donald, a nobody, a lawyer, a no power having he's like a minor vassal. He's got a little bit of money and influence, but it's mostly because of his wife who hates him, because of course she does. And it's just mind-boggling, but everything has to be a secret. Why does everything have to be a secret? You've already worked this out with everybody. Everybody that has to sign off on this already knows it's happening. So what's with all the cloak and dagger BS? Why doesn't Donald know? He got this all arranged before he even brought Donald into the friggin' circle to ask him if he wanted to do it. What if the guy was like, no, I don't want anything to do with this? Because he doesn't. But of course he accepts it because plot, and it's just none of it makes any sense. And then he gets all the ducks in a row automatically behind the scenes. You never actually see that, which would have been a much more interesting story. Donald is like, okay, fine, I'll do it. Yep, all right, great. So it turns out at around the same time, coincidentally, that the king, the High Lord TK, was going to got him to agree to this. His estranged younger brother's girlfriend, I'm not making this up, shows up to his house and says, your brother's been thrown in the jail, the night in fog is what they call it, and you need to come and help me rescue him. He doesn't like his brother. He doesn't care anything about his brother. His brother was a scumbag. His brother is still a scumbag. And she's attractive, though, so Donald is suddenly interested. It's a good thing that his younger brother didn't hook up with an ugly chick, because this book would have been a lot shorter. But, of course, she's attractive, so the power of boners. And so he's intrigued and stuff, but he's caught talking to this girl who's part of the Nationalist Party, the Rebel Alliance. Let's just make it easy. They call themselves the Nationalist Party or the radiology or radicology, whatever crazy mixed up words. This book uses a lot of them. They're the Rebel Alliance, okay? And the current people in power are the Empire. For all you Star Wars fans out there, that's how this goes. So he's seen talking to her, right? And that's enough to damn him. He talked to somebody who's associated with with a group that's against them, the Rebel Alliance, and so that's enough to damn Donald to death. Okay, it never explains that other than TK finds out about it and goes, "Oh my gosh, what a scandal! We'll have to kill him and his brother." It is so 180. It's ridiculous. The whole premise is tissue paper thin with tons of holes in it, and it's ridiculous. So, needless to say, as the book continues, and it is slow, you are literally walking through a tar pit covered in molasses while a bear is gnawing on you. It is a painfully slow read where nothing really happens for a long time other than this vague attempt at political intrigue, which falls on its face so hard it leaves a crater. So, Donald, of course, gets just push through the story. Everything, works out for him, and in the end, I'll get into it in the spoilers, it leaves you on what was supposed to be a cliffhanger, but really it's just a fart. I mean, the book ends not on a whimper, but on a fart. It's awful. It's really, really bad. And I was so relieved to be done reading this book that I couldn't X off of it fast enough. It's just really convoluted, really arrogant, going by the name, and it's just got this overinflated sense of worth. It's bad. There's nothing to hold your attention. There's no redeeming quality about Donald. He's a Mary Sue because he just knows how to do everything. He's a marksman. He's good at lawyer stuff. He's good at political intrigue. He's good at politics. He knows what's good for the entire island. He's also a consummate paladin of a good guy. Oh no, bad things shouldn't happen to anybody. All people are sacred. What about food? Oh, we'll find food. Although people still have to pay for food. No food is just given out for free, which again confuses the hell out of me. It's just everything about it is so poorly put together, just poorly done, poorly constructed, poorly given to you, and you're just supposed to shovel this into your mouth and think that it's ambrosia when really it's dog crap, and it's bad, it's insulting, and I did not enjoy it. That being said, it was structurally pretty well written. There were some, editing mistakes and some small grammar and stuff like that. Not a big deal at all. So that really didn't bother me. And it just didn't have anything else really going for it. I did not enjoy this book. I did not like it. I don't hate it. It's just, it was insulting. So all in all, I have to give it a 2 out of 5 stars. I didn't enjoy it. I couldn't find an aspect about this book that I enjoyed or that I could hold on to that would get me into the story. That was the biggest problem. I couldn't immerse myself in the story at all. There was nothing there that appealed to me. And it was just unfun. Unfun, I think, is the best way to describe this book. So, again, don't take my word for it. If you're not going to go into the spoiler section because you want to give the book a shot, by all means, the link will be in the description below. But I'm going to go ahead and take a small break while I play a quick ad, and then we're going to get into the spoilers. So, if you want to stick around for the spoilers to find out what happened, by all means. If not, this is a great place for you to stop and buy the book and check it out. Come back, let me know what you think. All right, in case you guys didn't already know, I am a self-published author, which is why I'm so passionate about self-published books. It's available on Amazon.com and paperback, Kindle, and Kindle Unlimited. If you're interested, the link's in the description. I'd really appreciate it. Checked out, left a review. So get ready, spoilers are coming up next, so if you're still hearing the music stops, it's your fault. All right, so you're still here, so let's get to it. So, like I said, the book starts off, and Donald Aldridge, or something like that, is a lawyer, but he works as an accountant for this guy TK, who is the Grand Majesty, his decency, which actually I kind of like that. He's like the head guy in charge out of all the lords that control what's left of England. It's a post-apocalyptic world where our age, the current age, called the public era or something like that, we were called the fatty masses. I really like that. I think that's hilarious. But society collapsed because we consume too much, and now the people that are still alive and trying to make everything work, they try to control all the resources, food, shelter, what resources, money, all that stuff. So they do that. They don't use technology anymore because they believe technology is the devil. Although they do use some technology depending on when the plot needs it. Like they have airplanes and cars and different machineries and stuff in order to make stuff. But for the most part, high technology is shunned. And Donald works for the guy who's got the biggest oil fields because, and all this stuff. So, and big tracts of land that he uses to farm to provide food. Well, Donald takes the estimated harvests compared to the population, and he takes the excess numbers. Of course, the only time you ever actually see him do it, he gets three different numbers, three different attempts, and he never goes back to it. But somehow TK gets numbers still in order to cull his surplus. I guess he's got backup Donalds. I don't know. A lot of stuff happens. It's yada 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 behind the scenes. It's like the author couldn't figure out how to get from A to B, and so he decided, screw it, I'll just do it in the background, and the reader's going to be stupid and just accept it. It really doesn't work at all. It's insulting. It's like, well, how did that happen? You never find out. It just did. Accept it. Garbage. Anyway, he gets a visitor, which turns out to be this girl, Sarah Kelly or whatever. They end up calling her Skay, Skay, which nicknames are nicknames, whatever. It's stupid, but it is what it is. And she was sleeping with his younger brother who went off and joined the Ultramarines and ended up not doing well there, got arrested for, of course, trumped up charges because, he's always got to be innocent. So she comes to him and says, your younger brother's in the Night and Fog jail, and I need your help getting him out. And he's like, why? What did he get thrown in there for? Oh, I don't know, but I'm sure the charges are made up. What proof do you have? None, but I'm pretty and I've got an attitude. And he goes, oh, you are pretty and have an attitude. I'm interested. Get out of my house for the moment, but make sure I know how to contact you because I've read this book and I know what the plot says. It's tissue paper thin with holes in it, but somehow it keeps together and the plot moves forward. So Donald goes to see TK for whatever reason, and that's when TK eventually says, listen, I've already got this all straightened out with everybody that has to sign off on it, but I need you to be my heir until somebody better comes along just in case, because I don't trust anyone in my family to do it. And Donald's like, that's stupid. No one's ever going to buy off it. I have no idea how to do your job. And he goes, yes, but you're honest and you make me smile sometimes, so you're the best man for the job. And he's like, well, I guess it would be great for my reputation and income. So, yeah, we'll do that. So he agrees to it. No sooner does he agree to it than he leaves, and TK finds out that he talked to Sarah Kelly, who turned out to be a member of the Rebel Alliance, or Nationalist Party, or Radicology, or whatever you want to call them. She's a terrorist, and she's in a group that is actively trying to overthrow the current group, which is TK. Of course, instead of just talking to Donald and using his influence and guards and connections with the Ultramarines to take Sarah Kelly out or use her to get into the Nationalist Party and take them out, arrest them, whatever, he decides, oh no, that's bad. If anybody finds out that I appointed Donald to be my heir, basically, they've got some fancy name for it, but I'm not going to try to pronounce these words. It'll be a scandal, and I'll be ruined, and I'll be thrown out of my office, and that'll be the end of that. They have to die. Not only Donald, but his brother as well. It is so flimsy of a logic leap that it's you gag on it. I mean, there's no better way to put it. You choke on it. It's like, this doesn't make any sense. Why? Just talk to the guy and find out what's going on, and maybe you can deal with it. So he's like, we have to kill him. But then the next time they talk about it, they want to talk to him. And so They go and talk to him, and he tells them what happened, and they go, oh, okay, so we'll do this. And then there's this huge convoluted plan to get his brother out of prison, which is super difficult, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you are literally besties with the Night Minister who's in charge of the Ultramarines, who could just go in there and get him out, no problem. But, ooh, it'd be scandalous and blah, blah, blah. You pardon him, which is what he did anyway, and that's it. That's the end of it. You move on. Nobody can touch. Nope. Scandal. All scandals, and then it could ruin us. One scandal, and it could ruin us. Okay, listen. It's 2019. We all know the political climate, and no matter how you see things over the past 10 years. I don't care. Everybody knows that one scandal isn't getting anybody kicked out of any office. All right, so kiss my ass with this stuff. This super flimsy, minor scandal. I'm loosely associated with somebody who's in jail through somebody that I think is a great person for this job. All right, come on. Who's swallowing that nonsense? Really? So anyway, they don't tell Donald any of this. They work on trying to get him in, and that whole plot line gets thrown to the side because all of a sudden Donald and Sarah Kelly fall in love with each other, because no kidding they were going to fall in love with each other. No kidding that she was a love interest. And even though she was desperate to get her boyfriend out of jail and back into her loving embrace, there's just something about Donald. And so she throws all that away and immediately starts, having sex with Donald, even though she knows he's married with two young daughters. Hey, adultery is somebody else's problem. That's something else that died in Apocalypse, I guess. But yeah, Donald's still a good guy. So they kind of start screwing around and falling for each other big time. Meanwhile, Donald, of course, ends up associating and joining and working for the Nationalist Party, the Rebel Alliance, against TK. He's playing both ends of the friggin' line there, and so he's playing both sides. So he ends up making a bunch of contacts in the Nationalist Party and enlisting with them for the most part. Although he doesn't fully join because he just sees them as as just as evil as the current regime, because the surplus people are dying. Like, he didn't know that. He didn't know what was going on with the surplus people. Like, he thought that they were just vacationing in France. It's just, is he really that stupid? It's mind blowing how bad this plot is. So Donald decides that TK's administration's got to go, but he's still going to accept a regency thing because maybe he can take over, because he's got zero ability here. It goes back and forth for a while, and eventually TK's guards or whatever troops, not the Ultramarines, another group of an army that just kind of pops up out of flipping nowhere, comes and kills a bunch of the Nationalist Party leadership, and then goes kind of like on a hunting spree against them, which doesn't end them. It just, the new group comes together and decides, oh, hell no. And they suddenly are able to fight back, and they win, or they divvy out a large swath of England for the Nationalist Party. It's super weird, but Donald has nothing to do with it. Like, this is all just kind of happening around him, but during all this, he shoots one guy. He shoots and kills one guy, which turned out to be some guy that the Nationalist Party really, really didn't like. Basically, he kills Phasma, all right? And they're like, oh, we're in the presence of a hero. He shot her when she wasn't looking, while he was cowering on the ground in perceived self-defense. She was shooting someone else that was in the National Party that had given up. They were wounded. She blew somebody's head off. He shot her in the chest. It took her a long time to die. He's a hero. And because he shot and killed one person, one high-up person, he's suddenly like third in command of the Nationalist Party, right? So, yeah. He keeps on getting thrown in these positions that are basically, he's just getting titles left, right, and center. And all he had to do was be around. So the Nationalist Party kind of takes over a swath of England. It's very tentative, but he doesn't like the way they're running things. He doesn't like the way TK's people are running things. Everybody's kind of at this weird crossroads, and he literally decides, come on, Sarah, we're in love and we're gonna go together to some little shady spot, and we're gonna start our own third party with beer and hookers, and it's gonna be awesome, and everyone's gonna live forever, and we're gonna be able to feed everybody, and it's gonna be heaven, and we'll show them. And even Sarah Kelly's like, okay, I guess, sure. She went from being this real independent, real resourceful woman to just basically his sex doll. I mean, it was like the author forgot what he was trying to do with this character. She went from tough and confident and authoritative to, oh, swoon, and it's vomit inducing. I don't know how else to put it. It's disgusting. It's horrible. And just as he's talking to her about running away, who shows up but his long lost brother, who has turned into a bohunk. He's big, he's strong, but he's still a weepy bitch. And so they're talking to him at the very end of the book. And they decide, or they find out that no, he was actually thrown in jail because he was murdering people left, right, and center. To the surplus, it was kind of a popular thing for the scumbag troops and stuff like that to just mow them down because they were cattle. You know, it was just that was the way they saw them, and that was a war crime. And it turns out that his brother was supposed to be in jail. He wasn't innocent. He was a bad guy, but you know. Family, even though they don't really care at all about each other, and so they decide to let him go, you know, do your own thing, survive as long as you can. Good luck. Me and Sarah Kelly are going to go and start our beer and hookers movement, and then they get arrested by the Nationalist Party or something like that because everybody decides now, in order to move the story along, which has ground to a horrible halt about 20% in, that they're going to arrest him and Sarah, and they're gonna put him in jail and try him and probably just off him, and that's pretty much how the book ends. Yeah, I know. I'm not. There's really nothing else. It's 200 pages of horrible filler, horrible attempts at political intrigue that just fall so flat it's painful, and about 42 pages of actual story. It's a very weak story. It's not good. I didn't enjoy it at all. I don't hate this book. It's not a 1-star, but dear God, I did not like it. I did not enjoy this story at all. There's just nothing about this story that's good or interesting. There's no redeeming quality about Donald whatsoever. Oh, also, he goes from a thinner, weaker, older man in the beginning of the story to he started wrestling and working out a little bit again for about a month or two, and suddenly he's this ripped friggin' Arnold Schwarzenegger guy that's, you know, super strong and blah and all this other crap. So put that one in your pipe and smoke it too. He becomes an action hero. Although there's zero action, everything happens around him. The author could literally have chosen any other character in the book, even a supporting character, and it would have made for a better point of view than Donald's. It was just awful. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't like it. I'm giving it 2 out of 5 stars because I didn't hate the book. There's a line. There is. Go watch one of my 1-star reviews, and you can tell the difference between hate and didn't like. So it was structurally and grammatically well written, though. I'll give it that. There were some small errors. There were some typos and stuff. Not a big deal. Very, very few. So that was actually a breath of fresh air, I got to be honest. So that wasn't a huge big deal, but just the overall overarching story, there's just no reason to care. No reason to care whatsoever. All the interesting parts, all the meaty, juicy intrigue and fun parts were yada, yada, yada over every single time. It was like, this has to happen. Well, how are we going to make it happen? And it's done. A few weeks have passed, and it took a lot of trying and a lot of string pulling, but ta-da! We got the golden egg, and that was it. Everything was just yada 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 over. Sarah Kelly is part of the atrocity committee, and it's like, well, how did you find out all this information? Trust me, I found it out. Well, that's good enough for me. How about you, Bob? Oh, well, yeah, Steve, I trust her. Let's just go with it. Ridiculous. So yes. 2 out of 5 stars, and honestly, I understand that I'm not the authority here. This is all my opinion. I could be wrong. By all means, check this book out. If you've got Kindle Unlimited, you can get it for with your subscription. Or if you've got 99 cents laying around, you could get an e-copy of it and check it out yourself. The link is in the description. By all means, read the book. It's not a long story. It's 242 pages. Come on back and tell me what you think. Tell me if I'm right. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if, I have no idea what I'm talking about. Let's have a discussion. I would love it. But that's going to do it for this review. I hope you guys and gals enjoyed it. As always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or complaints, feel free to put them in the comments section below, and I'll get back to you as quick as I can. And as always, thanks.